A lot more quiet now, huh? Right, so first thing of the day for the class, they said we're supposed to be going to a restaurant and they're going to be, quote, adventurous because they think most people in the class, they can tolerate, I guess, whatever menu they're going to choose. Funny enough, after yesterday, I think it's my ear that needs more recovery than my legs at the moment. It's like you're up in the mountains here.
To the grocery store 係啦，呢個就係南瓜啦。好，講日，我有一個細佬，我爸爸媽媽講。
They're everywhere.
Oh my.
It's actually a really expensive camera.
It's a lot. Can I switch?
Were you not used to being in front of the camera?
No, I'm not. You used to? Why?
Just repairing it, aren't they? Like,
Well, yeah, but I think it's gonna go.
is it? Okay. Jeez.
Last night I went to Halloween. I showed up at a house. That was a mall.
Yeah, it wasn't that much. Yes, so.
So if we have 8, oh my god, 8 times 2.2 would be the optimal number of dim sum items. What? Times 2.70.
That's a lot. It's gonna be a lot.
Like do not stick the chopsticks in the rice like that. These are the UBC students who are learning Cantonese. So they are taking Cantonese for credit.
My neighbor.
Oh!
At the true dim sum table. Really
Nice.
messy. Oh, I'm sorry. My favorite. It's a shake out.
Pork knuckle in ginger vinegar.
Oh, I've never had the mushroom one.
Where did you get it with this?
Yeah.
呢個係粉粉，
即係香粉。
粉粉。
香粉。
So we ordered the 沙包。
沙包。
So it explodes. So when you bite this, there's custard inside, and it's very hot. So when you bite, please be super careful. Don't burn yourself, and it will explode.
Wow. Beef noodle.
So this is the 沙包 I had in Hong Kong, and when I bite it, it looks like this.
Oh no.
That's tiny.
Yeah.
Alright, that's done. I'm sure there's a lot of you who haven't seen stuff like that before, so hopefully you guys enjoyed that as well. I think that's kind of a fun way to brush up on some skills. If you guys were wondering what all that camera crew was, remember that time when I said I couldn't find a female drone flyer? Those guys actually were able to do a project for the Chinese, I guess, like the culture here, like in the Chinatown and all that. So I wouldn't have been able to do something like that before if I was able to find a female drone flyer. What is this down here? Lots of people doing films today, huh? I was reading some interesting articles about that airplane incident, like in the US with the Air Canada, where you guys left an interesting comment about it. But I was trying to find anything more about that drone strike. And the only thing interesting I was able to read was how apparently DJI, I guess, they're trying to give Transport Canada all the information that they could if it was a DJI product or a DJI drone, which to this point, no details have been given. Because the one in the US, for example, they said it's a Phantom, for example, and they're giving them the data, whereas this one, we don't know what it is or if it was a drone at all. So essentially, like it says here, it says DJI is condemning any unsafe operation of drones and that it stands ready to assist, which again, we have no information of what this was. The only thing I remember is said it was apparently something that's bright yellow if it was a drone. Yeah, looks like all the trees are about to change colors here fast in this area. So thinking back to that apparent drone crash anyways, the one that they don't have too much information about, I think I remember before them saying when you're flying a drone, they want you to keep track of all the flight records and everything like that. Like, I guess it makes sense for a commercial person to keep track of where you were going, what you were doing and all that, so they can evaluate it if something goes wrong. And because of that, that's why this story got me interested. It was about that one, remember the Air Canada plane landed in that taxiway in the US airport and they don't know why, even though they were telling them not to do so. So they were trying to investigate it, and I guess they wanted to go look into things like the recordings on the plane just to see, hey, what happened with the communication. But it says here, critical evidence in near air disaster at SFO erased. So I guess they can't investigate it now because for some reason it was deleted, so it kind of made me wonder like, oh, that's kind of interesting. Well, what exactly happened? Now, to my understanding, I guess with the way it works, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, there's like a pilot, I guess the recordings on the deck just over-record each other like after a while, because what's the point of having archive stuff? And it says here, the delay in reporting the hair-raising event to the National Transportation Safety Board allowed the cockpit voice recorder to tape over itself multiple times before investigators came looking for it. Now, if I'm reading this correctly, I think the recording has to do with what type of plane they're using in terms of, I guess, allowance in terms of what they must do. It says cockpit voice recorder taped a dialogue among the flight crew that cannot be heard over the tower radio traffic and elsewhere. Newer planes must have a 2-hour tape limit, while older models like this Air Canada Airbus 320 are only required to have 30 minutes of tape. The recorder runs as long as the plane is powered, but once the recording reaches the end, it begins taping over at the beginning. To me, again, it's just kind of fascinating to see how something like the drone, even if it's a little tiny one, like who's it gonna hurt? Like that's what most of us would say. But they still want like all these restrictions or things like, hey, you better make sure, for example, I guess if you're a commercial person, that you should keep track of your flight paths and all that, I guess for records if they want to come back and look at it. Whereas this, they can erase it within 30 minutes in a critical time like this. Like that's where your focus should be. It's just kind of amazing how people fear this little tiny like toy drone, for example. Like yes, obviously if you run it into certain things then there's a possibility, but most people don't do that. I would assume you should be more focused on stuff like this, people with huge passengers and all that. Makes me wonder if the recording's deleted in that more recent incident. I don't know, in many ways it just makes me think how it's kind of like someone making a law saying they're gonna ban all mouse and rats because they can carry all this disease with all this fear mongering, but they'll let a tiger wander in the street or something like that. I mean, to me that's how it feels like in many ways. And holy cow, looks like all the grass changed colors already, huh? It's only been like, what, a few days? Well, I guess it'll be a good chance to test out some of the filters and stuff like that again. Okay, that was definitely a test with the filters. I'm wondering if people can actually notice which one I use and which. Like when you look at it, like you say, oh, I can tell the lighting is completely different. Practice, some more practice, I guess, is a learning curve, because usually when I go on those big hikes, I want to try to at least be semi-sure that what I'm doing is going to be just right when I started out. Otherwise, I waste precious time usually. I was trying to think what other types of creative shots I could do as well. Because I know by the sounds of it sounds like you guys as well enjoy, for example, when you kind of fly away, like with the mountain there, with the type of shots. I'm wondering, is there any type of other shots that I haven't really done and I could practice with here? Because again, once I get up there, I kind of want to try to do everything as perfect as possible because the time's limited with the battery and all that. Actually, with a comment about it being painful walking up that mountain with all the rocks, I actually took a time lapse going all the way down. I just did it for a test to see how good it would be. I think I need more frames or pictures per second. Right now it was at, I believe, every one picture every 2 seconds. I don't think it's enough to do like a time lapse in that way because I don't have the right gear to do like a video time lapse of a continuous walk. At a full frame, that went way too fast, so I had to slow it down to about 50% or so. So I thought, why not for fun? If you guys want to see it, anyone is interested in it, that you watched the video yesterday, you can see me time lapse all the way from the top to the bottom. It doesn't go really fast though. That was actually my ideal hope before, for example, when I'm walking through a hike. I have like a camera like this where I can show the stuff and maybe describe some details. Have a drone above follow me so you get the aerial view, and then a time lapse at the same time. But yeah, it's a little overboard, I guess, like in terms of resources and all that. Yeah, so I guess for fun I ended off with that time lapse that you guys can check out. See you guys later.